Welcome all my YouTube friends. Today we got to change a bearing in my skid loader. It's an ugly, nasty job. So if you buy one of these, hopefully you have somebody in your family can help you fix them. I got a son-in-law who's good at it, but he's working. And if I can't accomplish it 100%, he said he'd come help me. I've done them in the past, but every year I'm getting older. So we'll see how this transpires today. So come along with us. Let me show you this. Here's the problem. And them wheels have gears in, they're driven by chains. So when that happens, it comes off the sprocket, you ain't going anywhere. So hopefully it'll break down where you can work on it. So let's go ahead and get this tire off. When you're running an impact wrench, a lot of times the nut will get stuck inside the wrench. Just get you a punch, put on there, tap it with a hammer, and it'll come right out. You don't have to start cussing yet. It ain't time for that. That'll be later on in the video. So it just gets worse from here on in. These impact wrenches, they're so nice. I remember years ago before we had anything like this, you'd get a great big wrench on it, and a great big pipe, trying to break them loose, because no four-way lug wrench will break them loose. Now you just squeeze the trigger. Wow. I don't know, Jess. It's a bad one. When you can't get a nut loose, it's too tough. I'm gonna try to put this MAP gas on it. Maybe they'll get it hot enough I can get it loose. If not, I'll have to bring the acetylene torch out. I know that'll get it hot enough, but let's try this first, see if it works. Whenever you heat a nut, it'll expand. That'll help break the rust loose or the tightness loose on the threads. That was hard all the way off. Well, folks, I finally got it out of there. It's hot. It fought it all the way off. That ain't something you want to grab right away, I can tell you that. Just set it up there for now. Let it cool. Oh, is this up so high now? Now we got to clean all this off. We got to loosen our tensioner right here. We got a tensioner that's got to be loosened. We'll clean everything off here. Get it all cleaned off. And then we'll start taking it apart. Right here's the adjuster for this I want to take off. I got to back this up. This is what keeps your chain tight right here. When you put this back on, if you'll see, there's got grooves. These are in notches. They slide. So when you put this back on, put your chain on, you tighten this to push this whole housing forward, and that's what tightens your chain. Folks, on the inside of this cab, you got a cover here. Take this cover all off. This is what holds this cap on. Should be able to slide it in and slide it back without taking it all the way off. There's a big nut that goes down in this housing that holds this whole shaft on. So I guess I had it pulled out as far as I could. I thought I could pull it out a little farther. But you got to take this big nut off, and it's got a keeper in the nut. And you got to miraculously do all this by feel. Well, folks, I got this cotter pin. They go through this nut, and that's what keeps it from turning. I can tell you this, if you don't like to get greasy, you don't want to get involved in nothing like this, because this is a nasty, nasty job. Now let's see if we can pull this hub off of here. There it is. Here's what's left of your bearing. It's junk. That's the other part of it, the inside of the bearing. It broke. This thing is very, very heavy. So this was the inside seal, which is now, you can see, is no longer good. Let's put this on the back of my truck. I wish my truck was a little closer. You can see this housing now will lift off of here. The inside bearing's still intact, but it ain't any good. So, and this is what's left on the inside of all your bearings in your races. That's the rest of all your bearings down there. That whole thing's down there. When I first bought this skid loader, the bearing went out right away. And I didn't know. I never took one apart. So I took it apart, put it together like it was. A month later, it went out again. So I thought, no, something's wrong. So my son-in-law got on the internet, looked it up, and this spacer wasn't in here. And this spacer has to draw in to keep your bearing all the way in. Without it, the bearing just comes out, and the bearing was actually running on this hub on this outside, right out here. It wasn't running inside here on the race. It'd come out and run on this. And once we got that figured out, then we had pretty good luck keeping them together. And here's your inside O-ring. It goes right here. And that keeps all the oil here from leaking out around this housing. We got a new one of them too. We'll put a new one of them in. But this one, we'll just use the old one to push back in there and hold everything in place. You see, it's even all scarred up, but I think it'll be fine because this job is just to push everything in. Well, folks, we got it all apart. Now we got to take these races out. This one still has a bearing in and it has seal. We'll knock all that out, and that should be a lot easier than what we've been doing. So we'll see how this goes. There's your seal. That goes on the inside of the seal. Here's your bearing. It's still good, but we won't use it again. We got brand new bearings for it. You go through all this work, you want to put new bearings in it. Now I got to knock that race out of there. Here's what the bearing runs in right there. And I don't know if you can hear this. All that grit's in there. Them bearings are junk. And the other one's in a million pieces. In fact, here's part of it right here. That's part of the bearing. Now let's turn this baby around and knock this one out. See that race in there? You got to knock that out. We got to put a brand new one in there. So I'm gonna see if I can't prop this up here. I can at least hit it. Well, there's the inside race. It's very tore up. It's very rough. So now we'll put all new bearings, races, and seals in it. And we ought to be good to go after that. But there's some work to be done yet to get together. My son-in-law's coming over. As soon as he gets off work, he's going to help me put it all back together. And when he comes here, we get started. We'll bring you up to date. You can see how we finish it. Well, folks, we got all of our parts laid out. I got my right-hand man here, my son-in-law, and he's ready to get on this. It's late evening, but he's a diehard. He'll work. I worked all day. He said he'd come down and work on this. So here's what we got. We got the rubber seal that goes on there. We got the two races we need. We got two bearings that goes in these races. We got an inside seal, an outside seal. And we got to put this collar on, which is called a spacer, to hold everything in. So let's get started. Right now, Adam's pushing the race inside the hub. And when you put a race in, if you notice how he's just tapping all the way around it, you got to take it in square all the way down. Otherwise, it'll get hung up. You won't get it in there. You'll bust that race. Hey, the other way, I'll help you out on this thing. I'll knock that race in there like too much.
Too much.
All right, never mind. I'm gonna put it back. As he's touching it back there, that shows you the race is seated all the way in, and that's what you got to have. It's got to make sure it's all the way down where it goes. Adam's really good at that. You got to have patience for stuff like that. Now he's putting the outside race in. As you can see, he didn't think my big hammer idea was that good. So he's putting some grease. You got to grease the bearings. And it's interesting how he does this. And I've never done it that way. I always just kind of smeared it on, but he'll show you how he does it. And it'll work it all the way through the bearing. It really works good that way. He's pretty meticulous in what he does. It goes all the way through the bearing when you do it this way. Adam's a pretty good mechanic. He does a lot of mechanic work around here. See, he's showing you how it's come all the way through the bearing if you keep hitting it that way, all the way around. It takes some time, but that's really the right way to do it. Now he's on his second bearing. He's going to grease it the same way he did the first one. As you can see, folks, so this is not no job for somebody that don't want to get his hand dirty, because it's a messy job putting in bearings. Now he's putting the bearings back in the housing so we can put the shaft back together. Now he's putting the outside seal on the ring and bearing. It's very important which side you put in or out, so you got to pay attention to that. Otherwise, your seal won't seal.
How do you know?
He's showing you there that the yellow part on top, that'd be your outside. That's your closed face. Look at that of a seal, and the other side will be open. And the closed side always has to go out. And that's another thing is very important to use like a big block of wood, hard block of wood, to take the seal down in evenly. Because if you just hit the seal with a hammer, you could bend it up and damage it. Now he's putting the housing down on the shaft. He's putting in the inside bearing now. You notice he took it back off the shafts so he could use a chunk of wood to hit it again. You notice which side in, which side's out. See, if it starts to go in crooked, you'll never get that in if you get it too far off. So you got to really watch that really close. The best thing you could use is a chunk of wood. That spacer there is very important. When I first rebuilt the first one, I didn't know it had to have a special spacer in there, so I didn't put one in. And then it went out. About a month later, it was out again. But when we took it apart, we got to looking, and there was a spacer. So we ordered that spacer and put it in there, and then we ain't had no trouble since with them. And there's your outside rubber seal. That'll go against the machine. That seals all leaks, so all your your gear lube don't go out. You can see that chain down in there in that gear. That runs in gear grease. That's what keeps it lubricated. And if you don't put that seal on the outside of that housing, you'll be losing all your gear grease out that seal. I'm on the inside trying to fish it out to him so he can get the hub shoved in. So he put me in there doing the dirty work. That housing is very, very heavy and awkward. Trying to line everything up. You got to line up the inside gear. You got to make sure the chain's on the gear. And then he's got to line all the bolt holes up. Adam does a really good job, though. It's not leaked to drop since he's fixed it. Now what he's doing now on a case skid loader, they got adjustment because that housing will slide. And that adjusts the tension of the chain on the inside of the machine. And I'm on the inside of the machine telling him how much to tighten it, because you want we put about a ½ inch where you can move the chain up and down. You don't want it tight like a fiddle string. You want it a little loose. And now we got to put a cotter key on the inside where that big nut goes. There's a big nut in there, big hex nut. It's got grooves in it. And you got to put that in there. And that's kind of rough to do when you can't see very good. Now he's finishing up putting the tires on it. And one good thing to remember, of course, a lot of mechanics know this, don't never start any nut with anything other than your fingers. Because if you don't, and you use a machine and they get crooked, you'll run the threads right off the bat. So always make sure they're straight. And then you can use your impact wrench to tighten them down. And see how that bevel is. That bevel always goes inside. It goes into the hub. That's what keeps everything lined up. Some of these nuts come off very, very, very hard all the way to the end. It's an older machine, so it's been around a while. And I know there's been different people worked on it. Then when you tighten them down, you want to kind of go across from each other. You just don't start in one place and go all the way around. You start on one side. You see how he started on one side, and then he jumped to the other. And that kind of tightens everything down squarely instead of just starting in one spot going all the way around. Well, folks, this is the last part we got to put on. This is a little cover, keeps dirt and that from going down in that hole. It's got a seal on it, and we're going to go ahead and put this on there. And it's been a long day, a hard job, but thanks to my son-in-law, he's my best right-hand mechanic. He come down to help me after a long day. He worked hard all day. Then he come down and helped done this, and I sure appreciate it because I really need to get this skid loader running and use it for tomorrow. So thank you very much for following along with us and putting up with me. I appreciate it. We all appreciate it. And we thank you very much. And God bless each and every one of you. Have a good night.